Tea time with
Kelly,
See,
and Lee. So, ladies, what are you sipping on today? What's the tea?
I am ill prepared today, so I'm drinking my husband's beer.
Oh, Christmas cheer again?
it's my favorite.
Wow. Do y'all watch that show where they're all sitting around the table and somebody says suddenly try not to laugh? As soon as you said beer, I was like, oh, try not to laugh. That is such a funny show if you don't watch it.
I have not seen it, but
I'm
I'm
gonna
sitting
send
here
y'all
and
links.
and for some reason it's hitting the spot. So, and I'm not a real big beer drinker. I'm not mad at it today.
Well, I did have some Chardonnay in here, but it's gone now. So now I'm drinking a remnants of Chardonnay. And yes, I put ice cubes in my wine. I know that's really ratchet, but I am who I am. I mean,
I think that's a first for me. Well, apparently the way to do it bougie is to freeze grapes and put grapes in your wine, and that way it looks aesthetically appealing and
ooh,
it's like a vibe. I've heard that people do that, so that is an option.
sounds expensive.
Frozen grapes.
That's more expensive than ice.
It is worse than ice. But I guess because that's like the one fruit that we keep. Grapes and strawberries, they're just always in my house. So,
We
but
always have grapes and
anywho,
apples.
But you know what, y'all? Speaking of somebody's sons, speaking of somebody's kids, them Porter brothers was what somebody's sons, somebody's kids. They was Hassan's kids.
listen, I feel like
Nina, I hope one day you hear this episode, and I
I
want you
do
to
too.
know
I
that as
love
much as
you.
I love your reading, your writing, I just want to fight you real bad.
I want
Uh,
restitution. I feel like you need to run me my money because the way it became my identity. I remember talking to my husband and I was like, they're pissing me off. They're on some nut shit. He looked at me. He said, "What did you just say?" And I said, "What did I just say?" He was like, "Where are you from? Why did you say that?" And I was like, "Oh my god."
Kelly grew up
Bec-
nowhere near Philly. Okay, T grew up in Baltimore. I'm from like the outskirts of Philly, so the language is very familiar to me. But in our group chat, you couldn't tell us that none of us were from the middle of the city, right? North
mm,
Philly to be specific. Like we completely took on the whole identity from the R, right, to to all of the different colloquialisms. Wow. So let me start by saying that you have to be living under a rock not to have seen or heard something about the Porter
yeah.
brothers. But, right, when you're on social media, you see so many different series come across your For You page. Your
Hmm.
TBR is endless. So I almost feel like either one, you have to see people not shut up about something. You're like, okay, well, let me take a stab at it. Or you have to have someone introduce you to it. And for us, it was the latter. T introduced us to it. We at that point we have been doing buddy reads, and she was like, "Hey, like I read this already, but I think you need to too. Like I want to do a reread of this."
Once I figured
Um,
out y'all screws wasn't too tight up here, I said, "Oh yeah, my people, my
and
people."
You
I
did good,
think
friend. You did good.
I've had so many people like warn me, like, "Hey, if you start with Front Street, you might not continue. Not because it's not good, but because those brothers go through so much."
Yeah.
Like it might be too much trauma and you might not continue. And I think for me, that was the best advice that I ever gotten, because when T first said like, "Hey, I'm gonna introduce you to the Porter brothers," I was like, is there a way for us not to start at Front Street Porter? Like I like people are scaring the heck out of me about this book. And she orchestrated an order for us. We started with On Us One.
I
Don't
Hmm.
fight
actually
us.
just read us in the order I read them because
Okay.
Kindle Unlimited suggested on us to me, and I was just like,
Okay.
"Yo, look at
Now,
these
do you
little
know if
brown
On
fingers."
Us came out first? Do
No,
you
Front
know?
Street Porter came out first. That
Okay.
is
Okay.
the first book,
Okay.
but Kindle Unlimited didn't tell me that. They said on
Yes.
us one. I said, "Well, how many on us are there?" I said there were
So
three.
we read them all as buddy reads. We read On Us 1 through 3 first. Then we went back and read Front Street Porter.
Hmm.
Then we read Clearwater. Then we read Reckless Love.
That's love.
And I'm so grateful that we read it in that order, because Them brothers went through so much, and I don't
They
know that I would have
did.
had to. I'm not one of God's strongest soldiers, and He knows that about me. I don't know if I could have started with French Street, but I think no matter the order you come to it, Nina's a genius.
So
That
I feel
girl's a
like before
writer.
we even start talking about the brothers we love and which book we love, I mean, we really, let's just be honest. When books have a lot of characters, they're usually chaotic and they're hard to follow, and you
Yeah.
get frustrated and then you're overwhelmed. Again, I said it in our chat. I am not convinced that these are not based off of real people because they're too good. The I was invested in every character storyline for every book from cover to cover. You know how sometimes you read the books that have multiple characters or multiple couples, and you start to gloss over the one you don't like anymore? No, word for word
And this is
until
literally coming from someone who will start a series and
Not
be
and
like, ah,
quit
finish?
it
I'm done.
Yeah.
and quit it.
She never quit. Yeah.
And I was literally
She,
like,
even
after
though
we
she was ready to
finished,
skip over a book, I said,
yeah.
listen, I can't tell you what the book is about all the way because it's going to give it away,
And
but I
I
think you
feel
should read it.
like I
And then
lied to
she was like, I
myself
don't want to read it.
because,
And I just said,
yeah,
okay. And she was like, why would you bully me?
it was the way, it wasn't okay. It was like, okay. And I was like,
First of all, it
so
was via text. It just said, okay.
I'm
She
just
is very
saying,
persuasive when she does things. She's very persuasive. I'll just
yeah,
say that.
I felt like the psychological pull you had on me during that time, obviously, and I was down bad because even when I was like, okay, I read on us 1, 2, and 3. I was like, I'm good for a while. And then like the first day without it, it was like pushing my food around on my plate and air didn't smell as clean and crisp. The world didn't make sense. And I literally was sitting there and I was like, I need my Porter Boys back. Like I sincerely, and I was like, why? And again, y'all know me. I am a hit it and quit it. I'll read the book and I'm done. I was hooked. And so for me, that to me, that tells me just how well she wrote those books because I couldn't walk away. I could not finish it to the point where I am about to start DMing strangers on the internet to see if I can get Hassan because Nina,
I just want to borrow it. I don't need to
I
keep
just,
it. I'll read it in a. I'll call off of work. I'll read it in a day. I'll
yes,
send
I
it back.
will do what I need to do. I need Hassan. I need it.
Yeah.
That's how bad I am. I am to the point where I'm like, and I know a couple of people who I know who have it. I'm like, hey, I will Apple Pay you right now 20% of
Yeah.
a market value
I
just
just
to
need to
borrow
rent it.
it.
Yes.
Just to
Just to
run
read
it.
it. So I think just in itself, it is such a well written. I'm not a critic. I cannot critique anybody's work. But from my experience with that book, it is such a well written series that I do not regret reading one of those books. Not one of them. Not one felt like it was a waste of my time. Not one felt like a fluff piece that they just did to put another book out. Nina did her big thing
I think it was
with
the
them Porter Boys.
character development for me. I remember when I first started book one of On Us, and we meet Kai's character, who we are meant to hate, right? Like
Yeah,
completely despise. I remember reading it like, what is this? Like, I
yeah,
hate him. Ew. Like, I kept going to group chat like, ah, like I like
yeah.
quite literally wanted to rip my head off my body.
Yeah.
He was so frustrating. And then watching the way,
Did we
and I'm
start
gonna
that
call
in
them
Charlotte?
boys because of, huh?
Did we start that in Charlotte?
I did. We started when we came home from the book event in Charlotte,
Oh,
like
okay.
maybe a week after. And I hate to call them boys, but they absolutely behaved like boys when we first
Yeah.
met them. But to see the way those boys couldn't keep their hands to themselves, right? Like were so immature. They thought they could do A and cheat and do all
Yeah.
these things, but women like they treated women like they were very disposable. And I don't feel like they have much respect for themselves or each other, right? But to see the way they grew, like I'm confident in now talking about them as men and their
80.
80,
180.
their complete 180, but more than just a development, the way she brought things full circle, like she would mention
Yes.
something in book one that will come back in book four, like, you right, you
Yeah.
right,
And that's why I was like, these people have to exist in some way.
Yeah.
Because like we talked in our first episode about the evolution of an author. There is no way that she put this together so perfectly. To your point that you can read something 3 books later and be like, I see what you did there. And not in a like lame way. Like it was
And
perfection.
because we started at a later book, which means we read to a later date, then had to go back to the prequel,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think the best part of that, like Lee was saying, reading it in that order allowed us to connect with the characters first and not get so overwhelmed with their
Karma.
origin, right?
Mm.
Yeah,
With their trauma, yeah.
because yeah, it was a trauma dump. But again, even the trauma, it was written so. Nina, come to the mic.
So
We
you
need
know
to
Wait,
what's
talk.
crazy? I know that Hassan was not a great man. I'm not going to say he was not a great man. He was not a great man. He was a great father. The end of it, those tapes, that man did the best he
Oh,
could. Like, and I just felt myself getting so emotional, right? Like, so emotional about the way that he loved and he poured into his children. It
yes,
was like a broken person is trying to do better for their children. And I think a lot of ways, especially as a parent now, like growing up, I made all types of promises. I would never do this. I would never do that.
mm,
But then it's not until you become a parent that you realize,
yeah,
like, you
yeah,
start
in
to
some
see your
sticky
parent, like,
situation. Yeah.
your parent isn't just your parent. Like, my mom's name is Karen. Karen was just a girl. She was just she was
yeah,
just a fine, batty teenage girl that had kids. Like I see her for who exactly she is,
yeah,
right? Like being, and I feel like it was such a humbling experience like reading it first and going back to their origin, like yes, Hassan has some stuff with him, but like he was just a fine chocolate man from Philly that was trying
yeah,
to do the best with all these kids, with these 5011
yes.
kids.
And 5011 baby mama.
Oh my god. Which y'all know about me and pregnancy. And again, for me to read that many
And
pregnancies
that's where I thought we were
and
going to
not lose
lose
my
you.
mind,
Yeah.
because y'all know how I feel about that trope. I
Because
was like, I
somebody got
hate
a baby by
pregnancy.
them, but not them, and kind of
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, Nina, she like I felt like I'm still just even talking about now. I'm like smiling like that book was so they were so good. They were
So y'all know
so
I'm gonna
Terrible.
good.
ask. You know I'm gonna ask. Who's your favorite brother and why? Let's start with you, T. Since you bought them in our lives,
Oh, for sure. It's going to be Lake Porter every time.
Lake Porter. Okay. Okay. Why?
Man, you know what I love about a man is a man who's going to be a man. Okay? And not only was he a man to his girl, his one and only girl, he was a man for his brother. He literally made himself better because oh, I see the trajectory. I gotta get you. I can't have you doing this like this. There's
Yeah.
no way to live. And a man being a man going to get to me every time. It's going to get me every time.
Absolutely. Lake's a man, baby.
I mean,
Kelly. Kelly.
come on, say it. We already know who it
We already
is.
know who your
Y'all
favorite brother
already
is.
know that Rhett is my boo. Like,
Rashawn.
okay, so I actually feel justified in my choice after reading Reckless Love. Y'all knew I love Rhett from day one.
For sure.
Absolutely did.
And I've been down for Rex since day one. But I feel like what brought it all together for me again when we read Reckless Love is I told you, I said, I feel like again, Nina, who hurt you? Like where do these characters come from? Because we expected Reckless Love to be reckless. We thought it was gonna be like him just being about the shenanigans. Do y'all remember I was ready for it? And then to find out that this boy
Has grown up.
and was like, and was he wrong? Did he make his mistakes? He did.
Sure.
He is not
Yeah.
blameless. But I was like, he loves this girl. Like, and he's just like, and then to watch him go through and support her through her addiction and just all that, I was just like,
A man.
I can't. Now, I will say it is tough though, because Lake, what I love the most about Lake, y'all know me, I'm a sucker for a single parent. So to see him take River
Hmm.
and just be like, "This is my
This my
child,"
baby.
And don't you dare stay step nothing, not your he'll
ever.
box you. Yeah. Uh-huh.
That put him really close to the top for me because, and then how he was for his brothers. Because again,
He
once it
said,
comes full
"Why are you
circle,
holding my daughter? Your who?
and then when it
Oh,
comes full circle to realize that he himself was not shown love, but loved his brothers. Damn. I
unconditionally
mean,
with his
to hear
whole self
that and to know that he was like, I was told I'm not lovable, but then he's like, but and then it's the moments. Oh, I hate Nina so bad. Those moments when it'd be like the boys climbed in bed with
in
him
bed with him." Yep.
because they needed their brother,
You know what I'm
or
saying?
it's
Or him
like,
saying like, "You don't never have to ask to come home. This your home."
You know my favorite moments, and this is probably a little toxic of me, when it was very clear that it was a teenage boy raising other teenage boys, where
mm,
like the whole situation with like their first, like the first time they're dabbling with recreational drugs or their
yeah,
first sexual encounter and experience. And it just, it made me laugh because it made me realize, okay, like Blake is doing the best he can in raising his brothers in a non-parent way, right?
yeah,
But giving them the experiences that he thinks are important, but also seeing the way whether they were ready for experience or not ready for an experience, the way they just appreciated Lake for ushering him into those experiences, and the
yeah,
way they were able to laugh about it. Like when they would have their scenes where they would just all be in Avant spaceman and they would all be laughing and like
yeah,
doing recreational things. Those scenes were so priceless to me, and I felt like we
Absolutely.
got the shot of their human. Like, yes, they might have just committed a really heinous crime a chapter ago, or they might have just cussed each other out or fist fought or whatever. But it was like this humanity. And so I have two older brothers, so like, and they're pretty close in age. So the way that they would fist fight, argue, talk, whatever, like I grew up around that, but then it was still all love, right? And so
yeah,
I think the way women love and the way men love are different, and the way they show that love
Very,
to each other
very
is
much so.
different. Not in a bad way, it's just different. And
yeah,
I felt like each brother had their very distinctive voice. You're talking about a large amount of brothers, and for
yes,
some people, it could be easy for their personalities or their dialogue or their voice to get mingled. I never got it mingled. I knew exactly who was talking at each
mm-hmm.
and every single point at every single book.
Yeah,
Right. She almost didn't even have to put the names. Like Lake
No,
said,
she didn't.
yeah,
we knew
She
that was
didn't.
Lake. We already
Yes,
yeah.
know.
we knew.
We
We
know that
knew.
was Sav being a savage, talking
Absolutely.
reckless.
So I'm just
Those poor
wondering, can y'all
boys.
guess who my favorite brother is?
Avant.
Love Avant Porter.
Cry.
And I
I don't
listen.
know why
Love
you
Avant Porter.
like that cry baby,
I,
womanized,
okay. So I feel like I
trifling
have to
man.
defend myself here.
You
Okay.
don't have to defend yourself. Avant is trash, and you can go there with him.
Okay.
Hot
Let
trash.
me defend myself. So I like him the most as a character. Would he necessarily be a character that I'd want to like be with, or like I wouldn't call him a book bae. Like people rank their top book cousin as book
Mhm.
bae is people they imagine themselves with. I could never be with an Avant Porter, but I think he's my favorite brother because I believe his character development was the strongest and the most extreme character
Mhm.
development. And he likes to say, I like a man. Call me toxic. One of my favorite tropes is kidnapping, and like y'all know I love Beauty and the Beast and a whole moment. And something
Mhm.
about Fresh Street where he even thought Ivy was with somebody else, and he lost
Yeah.
his mind, and he lined them up. I don't want to give spoilers, but he
Oh, it was
lined them up
delicious.
execution style.
No,
Okay,
you was at the club with them. They was at the club while you was at the club, so they had to go.
I said,
When
you
you
know
dropped
what?
it in the chat, you was like, "You are gonna love chapter." I think it was chapter 8 or whatever. I started reading so fast because I knew it was gonna be delicious.
I said, you know
I
what?
knew.
He don't play about her, and when I'm
Mm.
reading a book. I don't want you to play about me. I don't think Amon always knew how to love Ivy. And I will say
No,
this,
for sure.
I don't know that enough grace is given for the fact that none of them boys knew
Were
how to treat women.
raised. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
for
Now,
were really
we
sure.
see
not
the whole
raised or
evolution
taught.
of them turning into men. Let's be real. I've recommended to I recommended these series to a few different people. And one of my friends, she DNF'd it because she was like, I can't take these men putting your hands on women. And I think that's a real
Yeah.
thing that we need to talk about, right? Like they have
For
some
sure.
ways that are very outlandish. It's a product of where they grew up. It's a product of who raised them, a lack of discipline, a lack of whatever. If you
Yeah.
I Everybody who I tell to read it, if you can stick with it, if you can watch their evolution, you will watch them overcome those things. But I
Yeah.
understand that it could be a trigger to people. You know what I
Very
mean?
much
And
so.
so
But
I
they
guess what I'm
also,
saying
that was their example growing up.
Right.
That's
exactly.
what they knew to be right. There was,
Yeah.
who was going to tell them otherwise? My daddy
Right.
said so.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
that, we could completely choose to not engage with something and that is our choice, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Right.
Right.
For
Like
sure.
my husband spent years being a better intervention counselor. And I used to be like, how can you do that job? And he was like, somebody has to counsel the families when something like that happens
Yeah.
and try to turn the men's trajectory. And it's not just men sometimes, right? Or
Yeah.
turn that person's trajectory around so that they can be in healthy relationships moving forward, even when it's not with the same person. So I say that, like, I just feel like Avant specifically, he grew so much personally, and I think the best snapshot of him I got was in On Us 3 when he got to a point where going to therapy with Dr. Apple Pie, love her name,
I
and just
know.
Love it.
realizing like, Ivy, you might really leave me and that's your choice, and I have to let you go. Like, it's your choice. You would be well within your right. I know you've been with somebody else, but I'm not going to be on some rah rah shoot 'em up execution style anymore. I'm just trying to get better because I have children, right? I think I'm a
And I
Let me
sucker
can't
for
live
tell
that.
without
you
them.
where. Let me tell you where Yvonne almost won me over. And again,
Almost.
is it toxic as hell? It is. But when he was like, I have a son, and I'm sorry that I have a son, but he's my son. Like, and I don't want this to ruin our relationship because he could have just as easily told that girl, you and this boy get out my face because I won't have to and I don't want to mess this up. But he was like, what do you want me to do? This is my son. And I was just like, out of all the reckless stuff that that boy did, I can give him his flowers for that. I can be like, you know what?
Yeah.
He was like, I might lose you, Ivy, and you are literally the love of my life. I have
None
offed
of them
people for
prayed about their
less.
kids, though.
Yes, but when it comes to this little boy, you have to understand I'm willing to let you leave me and possibly lose my whole family unit
Right, because it's
because I'm
Ivy
not going to, yeah,
and
and the kids. And
I'm
I
gonna
was
be real with you.
like,
I think
Avant did it in that moment to me.
I agree, but I think we zero in on Avant specifically. What about Sav and Savannah? Like other people was having kids and stuff. I think that y'all have made Avant the villain in
no,
this
no, no,
story.
No,
no, because one, Avant claimed from early Ivy
yes.
was it. So that makes it worse because you love her from day one when
And
she was
that's why I'm
just a
like,
bottle girl.
she,
And now it's all these years later, and you played in her face.
right. Because you got to think when they met, he was patient. He didn't pressure her. He took care of her. He did the one thing that no man had ever done, which is require nothing from her
Just
but to care for her. So I feel like now you're giving me a false sense of security. And then turn around and it's like, but you're really this womanizing hoe. And so it's like, what I can say about the other brothers, they were a little bit older, which that doesn't help. But you knew what time they were on from Jump Street. Like
for
he
sure.
was telling Ivy, "It's you and me, baby,
Yes,
us to the end of the
yes.
world." And all the while,
Sav and Chi
we
were
find
always
out,
making up and
yeah,
breaking up, and Sav ready to cuss her out.
openly,
You know what I mean?
openly.
So were we surprised that he's still sleeping with his old thing?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that's the part for Avant because I feel like she was already traumatized, and so
I think the
and
funny thing,
again, he was traumatized too. So now that we know all of that, I can see why he was making some decisions he did. But to me, that's what made him a scumbag because they were babies. They were
They
babies,
grew up
and he was
together.
like,
Yep.
and he pursued her heavily,
Heavy.
If you would have told
heavily.
me that by the end of this series I would say Avant was my favorite brother, I would tell you you were lying. I absolutely despised him in book one. Like if I
For
were to
sure.
go
He was the
back in my
worst.
comments and see, it would have probably been a tie between Kai and Avant, like the amount of angry emojis and
Mhm.
words that I said.
The
But I
only
think
thing
that
that
just
saves
goes to show
Avant for
you,
me is that Lake loves him. All right, you're in.
like left
That's
him.
it.
I think what saved Avant's character for me outside of just his growth and his development is that the way he struggled with the grief of his father passing because he was the kid who never really could
Yeah,
figure out his footing. He was always getting in trouble. I'll never forget the scene where he was just like, "Oh yeah, she stopped messing with me because I gave her chlamydia." Like it
yeah,
was nothing. Like
not a big
just
deal.
like and his brothers
Like
was
that's
like,
her
"You
ball.
like you dirty ass." Like he didn't he just blinked. Like he was a fast kid. Like
Hmm.
even what his dad told him, like you're always looking for somebody to tell you you're fine. Like of course you're fine. You
Yeah,
came from my sack. Well, now settle down. Like I think he was
Yeah, but
always trying to find
he
himself.
he suffered from the colorism though. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
Oh,
Now, granted,
absolutely.
his was very opposite of what is the norm today because his brothers were very dark skinned and
And
he was
yeah.
very handsome
fa-
and very chocolatey.
and he
Mm-hmm.
was fair. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to look like this. Like, what what's happening?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And his mom
Yeah.
definitely didn't help with that
And
because she
his
kept
mom
telling
and
him
their yeah.
that he was
Oh,
better.
you're so beautiful because you're better and your skin is lighter. And that's why he's trashing her. You're welcome.
So let's talk about the moms, right? If they, I mean, we all know who the true villain in this book. We'll get to the true villain of the story at one point. We'll get to her, but the moms,
But she also had terrible
I
parents.
I still am trying to reconcile
I wonder where Hassan found these women. Where
the
he find them at?
moms. And so I get it with Moochie. I get with her. They were babies. There wasn't there. They were
Yeah, they were
13
like
ish.
15 and 16.
That was like some Stockholms. Just that was just some trauma bonding with them.
Yeah,
But for the rest of them
100%.
that came along, I'm like, what now? And where?
Outside of
And
Moochie, you're not allowed to say Moochie. Who was your least favorite baby mom?
Adriana. Or, no. Demetria.
Okay,
who
so
is
Sav and Den's mom. Okay.
yeah, I would
I
say it's
hated
gonna
the
be
way she
Savage Debbie's
treated
mom.
them. Oh
Do
my
you see what I'm
goodness.
saying?
That was so
Yeah.
sad.
It was, and again I think and again we'll have to talk about them too. But yeah, I think that little boy needed so much for so many different reasons. And again, nobody showed up for him but the 16-year-old child who was raising him.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh well, he's crazy. What? He didn't really have any much choice in this matter at
I
all.
think those are the scenes that rip me to shreds the most. The scenes where Sav felt like his brother's keep like they all felt like my brother's keeper to a certain extent, right? You see Avery, I'm sorry, not Avery, you see Avant and Rec to the point where when Rec went away, Avant turned to drugs, right? Like let's not gloss over that, right? Like
Like,
hard drugs.
Like
And then you see
hard
the
drugs.
hard. Then you see the relationship that Sav and Dem had, and that brought me to tears several times because it was like,
yes,
even if Dem is trying to hurt me, even if
I
like
don't
I don't want
care.
to be
That's
in this world
my
without my brother,
brother.
like that
yeah.
just, oh my goodness, like it tore me
It was
up.
too much. It was too much.
And Lake
It
is
was, and
just
then
It's
mother hen. Come, baby.
Mother Hen looking after
Come, baby.
everybody, and
and then
yeah,
it's like even when you take those really bad moments, right? Like how they mistreated she in that whole situation. And again, I hate that situation. But it just goes to show how much Sav was like, I will do anything
Anything.
to keep them happy.
Even when
Even if
them
that
tried to.
means,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, even if it means I'm going to put this girl who I'm actually high key feeling in harm's way.
I keep.
I'm going to go ahead and
I'm
she'll
going to
be the
put her in
sacrificial lamb.
danger.
justice for Chi. That scene still gives me like
Oh,
when she admitted
I
that, I
got
was like,
chill
oh
bumps
my
now
god.
just talking about it. I'm just like, I hate this book. I hate him so much.
And so when Nina writes about, she doesn't always write about easy topics. They're hard topics. And to be honest with
Yeah.
you, I don't think she's romanticizing any of these topics. Not men put
No.
in their hands on
Absolutely
women,
not.
not recreational drug, like not she's not romanticizing it. I think she's just putting out people's very real reality.
Because
And I
Yeah.
that
I was just saying I think why people like love her so much and why we will pay whatever she asks us to pay for a book
Nina,
proudly.
75 pages for $75. Do it so I can
Yes,
buy it,
ma'am.
please.
Do
Right.
it. Drop it. I'll take 14 of them. Spectacular, right? Like
Spectacular.
I think the reason why we do it is because like one of the reasons why people run to books is our families sometimes look unconventional and uncomfortable like
Yes.
that. You
Even
know?
taking
And
it to the best friend of the brothers, Daly. He had a hard life too.
Oh
you
man.
take
Kelly.
it back. His mom I hated the most. I actually
Okay.
take that back.
If you're
Okay.
willing to
You
be
got that
That's
one.
that's
You
the mom I hate the most because it was one of those moments when you're reading Clearwater and they're talking, and you almost have to pull out your fingers like a toddler to count. When he's like, "My sister was 3," and then you realize that before he said they were just 3 years apart, and you're like, "He was 6. He was 6 and a whole ass daddy." Six, and then had to whole ass defend his sister against a whole ass
a
adult because he
grown
didn't know
man.
what was happening, but he just knew that's my sister. Yeah, his mom is the one I hate the most. I take back what I said. His mom, I
Okay.
don't remember her name. She's the worst because not only did she do it once, she did it twice. She did it a third time, and then she doubled down and came back when he was a whole ass adult
No,
and decided to do it again.
Yeah,
she
she
did
did
it
it four
4.
once,
times.
twice, 3 times. She did 4
Yeah,
times.
that's what I'm
That's what
saying.
she
Then she came
said.
back as adult
Oh,
four
yeah,
times.
she did it 4
But
times.
the gap between 3 and 4 was so
Yeah,
big. She
4.
had to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you was like, you know what? He's doing good in life. He's figured
Look,
things out. Let me go
and
drop
them
another one
girls
off.
is doing good too. So
He's a
what do you
great
want
father.
And I
more?
think even though I like Dally's character, reading all the other books, I didn't really see him as a brother until Clearwater. I'm not gonna lie. I did like him, but it wasn't until Clearwater that I was like, I get it. I get you and Lake quite literally were in the
Yes.
same
When Lake,
situation, but yours was worse because they were younger.
they
Like you
were
were
babies.
younger.
And
When
he
Lake
didn't have
called
nobody
him and
else.
said, "Hey, I got a preemie coming home. I need one of the bedrooms set up like a NICU tonight." I said, "Oh, Daly is him.
Oh, he's him. Yep. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
He's
felt like,
him."
and I think it was the references that they kept making for Lake because again, Lake was a whole adult when he didn't need to be. And so having Daly, I think that's what made me, I was like, oh, he's a porter. He's an honorary porter. I felt it from book 1
Okay.
because like you're talking about, like we're talking about how they're paired up. Lake was the one who didn't have anybody, right?
Yeah.
He was the one who was and so that was his home. And then we find out again to go down the line and find out, damn, that's because they had parallel lives. And then that's when they humanized Hassan too.
Yeah.
When Lake came home and told his daddy, they're gonna take his sisters away. What did Hassan do? He was like, I'm gonna go knock the bottom out this girl real quick for you, little homie,
So you
and
Let me
little
make
be
sure
the
homie.
y'all stay
first to
together.
say I know that Hassan is a villain. I know that. There were moments where I felt so bad for Moochie and those girls. I know. But right now, with the information that I've been given, because I do not have the Hassan book,
Yeah.
Moochie is the villain of
Oh,
all villains.
The
Moochie
There's
is
not a
villain
the
villain in
of
a
the
book
villain.
that I cannot
century.
stand more than Moochie.
But again, that speaks to Nina's writing. She wasn't even a main character. And she turns out to be the ultimate villain in the whole story from
The
day
way I didn't
one.
see that coming at all. The way I
I
was
didn't see
I
it
smacked
did
in
coming.
the
not either.
face.
I was
Didn't see
smacked
it
in the
coming.
face, and she still taunted them even from death. Like,
Period.
Again, these characters are written so well. The layers, like, cause like I said, we hated Kai from Rip because book 1, chapter 1 was like we don't like him, and then to find out, oh, this nigga's a porter. Oh, wait a minute. Then to find out, oh wait, his mama is look. It's like
it
This
was
is a
never ending.
multiverse.
Yes,
This is the Nina multiverse here. This is what this is because yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's why I feel like the thriller part. Like those are the plot twists that I like when you get 18 books in, and then you find out that the villain was introduced in book one and has been pulling the strings the whole
from the
time.
background. This is I'm literally the reason you guys fell apart because Lake
Every
would have
last one of
had the
you.
best mother.
Yeah, Oceana.
O did not play
Oh,
about her baby. But what you want me to do when I'm fighting for my life because somebody done tried to OD me?
I think the way Nina writes about addiction is just spot on.
Yeah,
Like, and not just how she writes about it, but how it impacts the people around you and your
yeah.
loved
mm-hmm.
ones. Reckless Love moved me to tears, like multiple times. She's the GOAT. And so
Yeah.
I'm wondering right now, what is your favorite book in the Porter universe? Mine's is Clearwater. I just didn't expect what we got. And I think the big turning point was again, y'all knew from book one Daddy was a Porter. I
Yeah.
didn't. And so I think for me that was the big like upset that I wasn't expecting. I felt like the Grinch's heart grew three sizes for him.
Yeah.
And because I didn't see it coming, it's my favorite of the Porter brothers books. And we get to see them older, healed, matured family men.
With
That was just
like
really nice.
children, like a lot of them
Children,
Children.
married. That was nice.
A
married.
whole compound of children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
My
I
my
think,
favorite book. Oh, go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think surprisingly, my favorite is probably on us three, and it's all because of that group therapy moment
Okay.
that just it took it out of me. I was just like, because again, we're talking about the growth of the characters. To have all of them anti-therapy men sitting in this semicircle, and then half the women don't even know why they're there because they're not wives; they're just jump offs who got pulled into this. And to have Dr. Pye sitting there, and she's like, she's like, how did I get them all here? Like to me, that scene,
A
I
little bit
think is
minus
what
Wreck.
catapulted for me them into the mature men we fell in love with. It was like to me that was that pivotal moment, which I think is what makes that book my favorite. Um, but then on the flip side, I feel like Reckless Love for the
Reckless
same
love.
reason that
Yeah.
you said Clearwater because I was not expecting what I got with Reckless Love. I did not. I thought we was going to be chasing panties the whole book, just trying to get G in the bed, trying to get her a cookie. That's what I thought it was going to be, and that book ended up being wild. And again, the way she tied their story together,
Period.
that
Period.
happened in book two. Didn't that happen in book two?
No, that
The
happened in
whole
Front Street.
But
Oh yeah, Front Street. So I'm thinking like, bro,
So
well,
like the
parts of it happen in Front Street, but their love story we seen starting in book
no,
one,
yeah,
in
started
One
in
Us
book
but I'm
one.
One.
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
the
yeah,
incident that actually ties them together from the
yeah.
Oh,
beginning.
That
Front Street.
started.
It happened in Front
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
Street.
like, that happened in Front Street.
yeah.
And then you telling me 5 books later we find out
It
what?
comes back.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
No,
doesn't come back in a forced way. Like you all read those books where it's like they open the door and that person's
you're
there and you're like, what was
reaching.
it?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't work. Like you read
No,
that part and was
they were
like,
in it. In it.
yeah,
Mhm.
No, so mine is
yeah,
I think my favorite book is On Us Two because that's where Avery and Lake get married. And seeing Lake
with that hood wedding.
Dreams and nightmares. That's what it's so. Anyways, go ahead. Just.
Ghetto fabulous, baby.
seeing Lake open up to Avery in that way with the playing, with singing to her at the at the
Yeah.
altar. I was like, that's when I had hope that this book just wasn't going to keep crashing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, this is his. Oh, he means this is the one. And so,
Yeah.
other than that, Clearwater, me and Daly go together real bad. But
He
on
was 6, y'all. 6 years old. 6 years
It's
old.
crazy.
You know what? I just have to take a second, to say if you know Kelly, we kind of teased her on the first episode that she does not stick to series. And we told her, like, when you stick to a series, you get the full development of something and you can watch it marinate and it's better to you because you have a front row seat. Let the Porter brothers be an example of, you
Yeah.
notice your favorite book was
And
on
she's
us number
anticipating the
3.
last book that hasn't come out yet.
But I
Oh,
feel like it was,
FYI, if
I
it drops
feel
this
it
year, we're
because
dropping everything.
oh yeah,
everything.
any
Yeah.
TBR goes out the window. I'm reading it. But I feel like the reason why I got invested in this one because I got invested in every single character that was in this book. Like even when we asked like who's your favorite, it's like you have to really think about it, like man, who is my favorite? Because I found something I loved in all of them. Now what we haven't done yet is talk about the girls, the women in the book
The women.
because
Wow. We could be here all day. So let
we
me
really
just start
could.
by saying that when we think about the women, who did you see yourself the most in out of the women?
Ooh, I probably have to say like for all the wrong reason or the right reasons, Gia, because I was that girl from the right side of the tracks, trying to always think of somebody good for some reason. Why? I don't know. It just looked good to me. And again, I would fall for the wreck. That would be the one in the group that I would be like, hey,
Hmm.
you like to smack people around, let's go get some punch because you're my kind of guy. So I think for that reason, not her background and all that, like with her dad being a complete sociopath, not that part, but just her, like she had a good job. She went to school, but there was still a part of her who was just like, I just need something more. I need something a little rough and gummy in my life. So I head on over here to the
Yeah.
front street and find
Correct.
them boys.
The
So I would
final
probably
book.
say Gia.
How about you, T?
Well, I feel like probably Ivy. I would like to say Gia because for the same reasons Kelly said, but with having a sibling, a younger sibling that you will literally give your life for. Like the world is not nice to either of us, but they're going to be okay. I might not be okay, but I'm going to live long enough to see them be okay
Mm-hmm.
and like propel them forward. You know what I mean? That kind of resonates more with me in this very moment. And just like nothing else matters. Because even when Avant came around, my sister's here. You can't I don't do
Yeah.
that. I don't play about her. As much as I wanna like you and yeah, I would love to be 18 and in a little relationship. I have
Yeah.
responsibilities.
I'll be
So
tickled. So as much as Pav is my favorite woman character in this whole series, as much as
For
I want to
sure.
say I'm
That is
Pav,
great.
I unfortunately I probably resonated the most with Avery. She was a little annoying sister,
Mm-hmm.
stomping around, wanting to know why they were hanging out without her, wanting to be in this adult relationship with Lake, even
Mm-hmm.
though he's older than her, but having very immature moments like going to other people and sneaking and doing things when she should have had a conversation with Lake. Unfortunately, I probably resonate the most with her, even though she got on my freaking nerves. But
Yeah,
freaking
I
nerves.
wanted to
just
punch
like
her in the
we see the
face.
men develop a lot, we also see a large development in Avery. What did Oceana call her?
Oh god,
What
it
did she
wasn't her
call? They call
Abigail.
her
name.
Abigail. She called her
Abigail.
Abigail. We see the most development in Avery, and to see her as a mom and see her as a wife, you know, yeah. And
She was a little Russian mother too though.
Yeah,
I
she
didn't
Fine.
was.
get.
Go
Oh,
to your little stank daddy.
she definitely had her ratchet moments. So I didn't understand because this is the one thing about not reading them in the order. I didn't understand on Honest one and two how she could take Avant size so much over Ivy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But then when we went back in Friendship Porter, I'm like, I get it. He
you
came
get
in
it
your
Yeah.
life when you were 13 years old. He really is a father figure to you. He
Yeah.
is
to
what
you.
you
Yeah.
know. So it's like you're watching mom and dad
We were
fight,
living in
essentially.
motel. Here comes Avant. We have an apartment. Then we have a house. And we've had everything we've ever needed since he's come into our lives. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it.
I got it. I did get it. And
Now, I will say that Ivy is my favorite female character, though. And I think it's more so because, to your point, T, for what all she was going through, and again, to know after we get all the background, all the things she went through, she stepped up for Avery, and then became a surrogate mom for them crazy ass poor boys.
Boy,
And I think that those are some of my favorite moments when they're over there, and it's like Moochie didn't cook, so I'm coming to your house to eat. And she's like, boy, whatever. But she's in the kitchen cooking them something to eat.
yeah.
And then when we find out in on us, I think it's three, when we get a lot, that's when we got more of their, wasn't it? So then we see when they were even on the house, Jen and Sal were still going on her house to hang out with her because she created that found family. You know,
That
it's
was
like,
that was home
I
Ivy
for
was
was
about
the
to
them.
say
truth.
Kelly's a sucker for
I'm a
found
sucker for found family.
family.
Ivy was the truth because at any point she could have been like, "Get your crazy brothers out my face." Instead, she's like, "No, they're good. You
They're
leave,
good. You
Ron.
leave. You get
You're
out. They
trifling. You
belong
get
here.
out.
You don't.
They're good. They
Mhm.
over there hanging out wrestling with Avery." So I think she's my favorite character because again, and I have to keep reminding myself, they were babies going
Hey,
through this. She was 15, 16 years old, taking on a whole entire family. Just trying to give
Yeah.
these kids some stability. So she's by far my favorite female character because
and the
through
way
all of
even
it,
while they were still
she
at
stood
home,
there.
she protected her sister. She
Yes,
went through all of the things because don't touch her.
right,
Big Ivy, not the little one.
man.
Yes.
Ooh, she was.
Well, let me
Yeah.
just say this. I absolutely adore the series. If you haven't read it, you should read it.
Absolutely.
If you have a copy of Hassan and you're willing to maybe send it to one of us for a fee, of course, we will
This is
rent it
our
from you.
plea to the internet.
Give all we need is a week between us. We just need a week, and we'll send it back with love.
But
Um,
wow.
Man,
just let us know.
Please.
because the fact, and then Nina, if you see this and you hear
Nina,
our love
get back
for
on
it,
Instagram. I don't
it
want to be on Facebook.
yeah, I just need you to, meet us halfway. Give us Hassan. For those of us who are just finding you, Nina, we need Hassan.
And
Yeah.
It's not
so
our
for
fault we missed the
for
boat.
the year 2025, Nina says she's not selling any of the old books.
I
Whatever comes out this year is
know.
what she's selling. So she
So
said,
fair.
"Too bad, so sad. You didn't buy what you should have." Period.
That's genius, though. That's supply and demand right there. She knew what she was doing. But yeah, I echo what you said, Lee. If you have not read it,
You have
and
to.
again, it has a little bit of spice. Like, and this is coming from me, who I'm here for the spice. The anxiety is always real. I wasn't even looking for the spice in this series. I was
Really?
so invested
I
in
was.
these stories.
I was really excited.
I was. It was good. I appreciated it, but it wasn't the driver of me trying to figure out like what. Yeah, if
Correct.
you haven't picked it up,
It was
it
a
is worth
lot.
it.
It was a lot of elements that went into these
Yes,
books, and she took her time, and I appreciate her.
She
yes,
nailed it. She nailed it.
it's definitely top tier. Okay.
If we did Mary Sex Hill,
Ooh,
who are you choosing?
Mm,
We're gonna popcorn
Mary.
some Lee.
Wow. So Mary smash pass
no,
or
kill, baby.
unalive. Okay.
Unalive. We're going to unalive this one.
So I'm gonna marry Lake because
Now
both of
she want
his
to marry
feet.
Lee. You see what
No,
I'm
I
saying?
am because here's the thing.
Hmm.
When I was a child, I acted like a child. When I'm an adult, no, no, seriously, I'm gonna marry Lake because at the end of the day, I like to be flown out on jets and go shopping with my friends, and he's stable. Both of his feet are planted on the ground. Okay. I am gonna smash Avant because I just know
You
he can
want chlamydia?
smash. No, no, no. He got that fixed and taken care of, Calendra. Okay?
Because you want to
I
get pregnant and have him force you to get an abortion?
No, first
Oh,
of all, he did not force that girl. He did not force Cheyenne. He let her do whatever he wanted. That was them. That was
that
talking
was that
reckless.
was Cheyenne, but there was some before
Okay,
Cheyenne.
listen, this is my moment. I'm going
Uh,
to smash Avant with protection. and
Smart
I'm
woman.
and I'm going to pass on them only because I need him healed first. Once I'm waiting
But we
for
said
his book.
unalive. We didn't say past. We said unalive.
Fine, I'm
And
gonna
if you
unalive
take
them.
them out the game,
I'm, I'm
how?
I'm taking them out. He has to be healed first because I'm not going to be sleep worried about him unaliving me. It's either him or me. It's him or me.
and then your husband's gonna divorce you because that's his baby.
Lee, I can't even.
You
See,
judge your mama, not me. Judge your mama,
oh,
not
we
me.
listening and we're judging. I'm
We
giving you
Period.
listen and
that.
we don't judge.
No, we
Hmm,
definitely we listen
I'm
and we
judging.
definitely judge.
Hmm. What about you, Kelly?
I'm gonna marry Rick. I don't care what you say. I like it interesting. And I want to
Don't
keep
you
it
piss him
interesting
off because he's going to
till
touch you
death
from
do us
here to
part.
here. From here to here.
I'm gonna piss him off because he's also hand me up a little bit when I do. So, and I'm into that. I'm going to smash Sav because I don't care what you say. I feel like Sav is gonna be a good time. I feel like he's
He's so
not gonna disappoint.
unexperienced.
I feel like it's going to be a good time. Okay. And I'm sorry, Avant's got to go,
Gotta
baby.
go.
Avant is out of here.
You
And
gotta
Ivy can go pick up the brother
You'd
to
rather be with
Key?
Sav and get passed around with his brother than be with Avant?
we listen and we don't judge. Because that's a two
Girl.
for one special for me, baby. Bring it.
Please wildin'.
T, your
Huh?
turn.
Okay. Wow, that was a lot to take in.
Proceed.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm Marion Lake. That's easy.
Y'all are so boring.
It
So
doesn't matter.
boring.
We want good lives. Financial
We want to
stability.
live the good life. Um, Smashing. Probably right.
Okay.
Probably right.
Why you smashing on Rat?
Because Rex a little crazy, but not too crazy. He gonna get me right, but I'm not
In
gonna
the
have
words
my
of
head between the
T,
washer and the dryer. You know what I'm
in the words of
saying?
T, correct.
Correct. And
Okay,
who we gotta get rid
tell her you're
of?
gonna unlock. Tell her you get rid of. Just go ahead and tell her. Tell her you get rid of.
Seth.
Okay. I agree with this list. Why are you getting
You,
rid of Seth?
I
Why are you
hate
getting rid of
Seth.
you
Sweetheart, you hate Seth?
I feel
Yes.
like you haven't mentioned that
Because of
before.
I've never heard because of what he did with Chi. Like, why do you hate Seth?
Not just the situation between them and Chi, just the way he treats Chi in general.
He
Even
has
in
a hands.
Restless.
Yeah,
Out of all of them, he has the worst hands problem.
So
yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm.
Man, over
Supportive. I
Avant.
thought she was gonna hate on Avant again. I was about to say this
I
is
So in my
this
mind, Avant is not even there.
a factor. He's not even worth
Mm-mm.
talking about.
Mm-mm.
I don't know if that's
Mm-mm.
better or worse. She was like, he's not even a. She's like,
I
I'm
mean,
not even considering him when I talk about
I,
this book.
I
Who
mean, it's
is
more for
this?
me.
Enjoy.
Well, needless to say, I think we're gonna have to spin the block once we get Dim's book, and we already know we're all mentally preparing. We're saving our PTO and scheduling our appointments with our therapist before we read it
For
because I
sure.
think we know that Nina's gonna hit us with a two-piece snack.
2 piece and a biscuit.
Oh,
And a
Absolutely.
Jesus.
biscuit with
And a
no
biscuit.
jelly or honey.
Oh no,
Man,
I need some
it's
honey.
gonna be heavy.
It's gonna
but
be
I feel like
heavy.
it's probably going to be one of the best ones. I feel in my soul that Dim is going to be one of the best books.
We're gonna have to redo our ranking list
Yeah,
of the
I
books
think we're going to have
after
to come
this.
back around and do it after we get
I
done.
don't think so. I feel like them is gonna be a masterpiece of work. I don't think it's gonna be my favorite because I still think it's gonna be like Wreck was too heavy to be my favorite. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
feel like them's gonna be the same way. It's gonna be probably the best written book. Just not. It can't be my favorite.
I think it's going to be so good.
I don't
I
I
know.
think you're
think
gonna.
so
I
too.
think you're gonna eat those words, and I
We'll
think y'all are
see.
gonna be boohooing, and y'all are gonna be like
Well,
Laku.
I'm counting on that. I know it's gonna be all of that, and still can't be my favorite.
Mm.
We'll
You
see.
can't drag me through the mud for me to be like, oh yeah, let's do it again. I don't need that.
Nina, we'll see. Bring it, Nina. We're ready. We're so ready.
Also,
And
Nina, if you're
again,
listening, you
give me
can
her
send us an
time.
advanced reader copy. We won't tell nobody.
Ooh, at all.
We'll,
Unless you
we'll
want
just
And
me
talk
send
to,
us a blanket.
and then I'll tell
Thank you.
everybody. We're shameless. We just ask for all the things.
all
Please
of
and
it.
thank you.
A closed mouth don't get fed.
You sure don't. Mm.
Well,
All right.
y'all, that was
Well,
tea. That
yeah.
was the tea for today with
Kelly.
See?
Emily. See y'all next time.
Bye.